Please take your seats so we can begin. I would like to reconvene the school board meeting of September 28, 2021. We had an executive session this morning, and that's where we convened our meeting, and then we take a recess to now reconvene. Let the record reflect that all school board members, invocation and pledge. Dr. Calderon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This evening, I'd like to share some thoughts from a book that I was given to from a good friend, 365 Quotes to Live Your Life By. I know we've all been living through some trying times lately, and I know mindset really changes our attitude, so I'd like to focus on these 7 thoughts. Focus on what you can control, not on what you cannot control. Focus on the positive, not the negative. Focus on what you can do, not on what you cannot do. Focus on what you have, not on what you do not have. Focus on the present, not on the past or the future. Focus on what you need, not on what you want. Focus on what you can give, not on what you can take. We live in a great community with great people and great facilities, and we should be grateful for all of that. If you'd all please rise and join me in the pledge.
Thank you, Dr. Calderon. Let the record reflect that all school board members, superintendent, and school board attorney are present. Thank you. As this meeting commences, please be advised that it's unlawful for any person to knowingly disrupt or interfere with the administration or functions of any school board or activity on school board property. It is the expectation that every person present who enters this assembly will conduct themselves with civility, courtesy, and restraint. This meeting will be conducted pursuant to the district policies and procedures as they relate to order and decorum. Disruptive behavior and actions are counterproductive to the advancement of pertinent district business. Therefore, each individual is warned that failure to conduct oneself with civility and propriety may result in removal. We thank you in advance for everyone's adherence and cooperation. Thank you. Okay, I have one acknowledgement for this evening. Thank the union members who are here tonight to support their local units, SCPS, SECA, NIPSCO, and SEA. Superintendent, do you have any agenda modifications?
Addendum item.
Thank you.
And I would like to pull from the agenda item 6I, the invitation to bid award for free detection system.
Thank you. School board members, agenda modifications, and I'll call you in roll call order. Vice Chair Pennock?
No modifications.
Thank you. Member Calderon?
No modifications.
Thank you. Member Sanchez?
No modifications, thank you.
Member Kraus?
Yes, I would like to pull 6Z just for clarification, please. Z as in zebra.
Thank you. I have a couple. One is the Lake Howell High School GM at risk, where I was going to serve because you had a conflict, Ms. Kraus, and now you no longer have a conflict, so you have requested to serve, so that's a change. And then later I'll ask if a board member is interested in G and H for representing for procurement, okay? Is there a motion to approve the agenda outline?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Superintendent, presentations?
Yes, we have the Veteran of the Month recognition, please.
It is my sincere pleasure to introduce the Veteran of the Month, Miss Lieutenant Shannon Rolfe from Tuscaloosa Middle School. Shannon Rolfe graduated from the University of Florida in 2005 with a Bachelor of Science in Zoology. She was commissioned in the U.S. Navy as an ensign upon graduation from the NJROTC program. Lieutenant Rolfe was stationed in Little Creek, Virginia, and assigned as a surface warfare officer aboard the USS Oak Hill. She filled the role of electrical officer, directly supervising 15 electricians in the logistics and sustainment of shipboard electrical engineering plant. She oversaw the equipment tag-out and the electrical safety program throughout the ship and was qualified as the engineering officer of the watch. That's the ship supervisor in charge of the operations in the engineering plant. Her next assignment was training officer on the board the USS Mayhem in 2007. There she organized the ship-wide training schedule, including all naval exercises, certifications, operational and engineering inspections, and monitoring of the training progress of 350 sailors. Lieutenant Rolfe's last duty station was as an individual augmentee with the U.S. Army. She served as an electronic warfare officer with the 728th Military Police Battalion, stationed in Tikrit, Iraq in 2008. Her role was to monitor the trainings of soldiers, allocation of equipment, and sensitive items inventory for over 575 crew. That's counter-radio controlled improvised explosive device systems outfitting the U.S. Army vehicles. Lieutenant Rolfe completed her active duty commitment in 2009 and was honorably discharged from the Navy Reserves in 2013. She went back to school at the University of Central Florida and achieved her Master's of Science in Conservation Biology in 2014. She began teaching science and ecology at Tuscaloosa Middle School in 2016. She and her husband, Matt, have been married for 13 years, have a 5-year-old daughter, and own a brewery here in Sanford. Congratulations and thank you, Lieutenant Rolfe, for your service to our country.
Good evening, board members. Superintendent Beeman has delegated to me the honor of introducing our newest member of her leadership team. So I'm very excited to welcome tonight our new Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education, Mr. Paul Senko. Mr. Senko is a graduate of both Florida State University and the University of Miami, and prior to coming to Seminole County, he was a teacher in Wakulla and Miami-Dade. And after coming to Seminole and serving as a teacher and assistant principal, he has spent the last 16 years as a very successful principal, first at Keith Elementary, then at Sable Point, and currently at Forest City Elementary. And we're very excited to have Mr. Senko join the superintendent's leadership team. Joining him tonight is his wife, Rebecca, a longtime teacher at Rainbow Elementary School, and his daughter, Victoria. Thank you for joining us tonight. And Mr. Senko's assistant principal at Forest City, Mr. Joe Avellino, is joining us as well. Thank you all and congratulations.
Achievement? Oh, okay. And Chairman, our Focus on student achievement tonight is in regards to civics literacy. Dr. Weishaupt?
Thank you, Superintendent and board members. Good afternoon. We are bringing you this focused on student achievement presentation tonight to give you a little bit of information about a new state assessment that was created by act of the Florida legislature. This is an assessment that we are required to give as a school district. We'll tell you a little bit about it this evening. I do want to stress now, and we'll say this again at the end just for clarity, this assessment is not a high school graduation requirement. It is not a college admissions requirement, and it is not a part of the school accountability system. However, it is a new assessment that we are required to give. The other piece about this is the key word in this title slide is the word literacy. This is an assessment of basic civics knowledge. It is not an advanced placement exam. It is not a college dual enrollment exam. It is a basic literacy assessment. To tell you a little more about this tonight, I'm going to introduce the two project managers. As with so many academic initiatives, this is a joint effort between the Teaching and Learning Department and the Assessment and Accountability Department. And so I'm going to turn the presentation over to Eileen Haney, who is our K through 12 social studies teacher on assignment, and Joyce Moore, who is our administrator in assessment and accountability. And then when they're done, we'll answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Beeman. We're here this evening to discuss the Florida Civics Literacy Exam. Civics is an ongoing priority in the state of Florida. Both our governor and state legislator have put civics front and center, and implementation of the Florida Civics Literacy Exam is an outcome of the recent legislative session. As you can see from the description by the Florida Department of Education, the exam's purpose is to measure students' understanding of civics and government. All 12th grade students, as well as any 11th grade students enrolled in U.S. government, are given the opportunity this year in high school to fulfill this post-secondary requirement. The exam itself is based on the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services test administered to those who are applying for naturalization. These are basic questions about American civics, history, and government. Our students have engaged with these topics throughout their K-12 experience in Seminole County. Civics instruction is included in grades K through 5. Our students take a year-long civics course in 7th grade, and our students have recently completed a 2-year sequence of American history when they enter grade 12. The questions are all multiple choice. The next two slides are a sample of the questions that our students will see on the exam. So if you want to take a look for a minute, keep in mind that this is a basic civics literacy exam. It does not include advanced content. Here's some more. The Department of Teaching and Learning has provided resources for our teachers and students to prepare for the FCLE. Within our social studies instructional plans, teachers have a variety of resources which are linked here to assist our students in reviewing the basics of American civics and government. We also have provided teachers with sample exam questions so that they can provide practice to their students. Now I'll pass the mic to Joyce, who will explain the examination process itself.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Beeman. I'll talk a little bit about the administration of the exam. This exam is administered by computer, and it is the same platform that our students test both the FSA and EOC's ones, so students are familiar with the testing platform. There are approximately 80 multiple choice questions on this exam, and students have 160 minutes to take the exam, although they may be dismissed at the 80-minute break. On September 21st, the Department of Teaching and Learning communicated the test specifications and framework updates to the impacted social studies teachers. And by October 8th, schools will notify parents and students of the exam information as well as the examination dates at their specific school. So we have 3 windows. October 25th through the 29th will be the primary testing window, and schools may choose any of those dates to test students. That will be followed up by 2 makeup opportunities from December 1st through December 3rd, as well as April 11th through the 27th. And again, schools can choose to test anytime within those dates. And the passing score in this assessment is 60%, and this score is set by the FLDOE. Student results are immediately available to the school assessment coordinator on the testing platform. Parents will be notified of the student's results within 30 days after the primary testing window closes. And those passing scores will be posted to students' transcripts in the summer of June 2022. And as Dr. Weissong previously said, there are no graduation requirements tied to this exam, nor does this exam impact student grades. That concludes our presentation.
Any questions, board members? Member Calderon?
Will this just be noted as pass or fail? And the state, I'm sure, will be ranking all the districts against each other, I'm presuming, once all the scores are in?
So am I to understand your question that you're asking on the transcript, will it be a pass or fail?
Right.
As of right now, we are only been notified that it will be a pass that will be reflected. We don't have any information about whether or not the attempt is going to be noted on the transcript. And then you had another part of that question?
I just didn't know if the state of Florida was gathering data district for district to rank the districts and their pass rate and when that would occur.
We have not been made aware of that, but everything that we're receiving really is up to the minute. So at this time, we don't have that information.
Thanks.
Vice Chair Pennock.
You mentioned that this is on the same platform as FSA and EOC. Is there an additional cost to us, or is this built into our platform?
This is an assessment or an exam provided by DOE, so there is no cost to the district for which I'm aware.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Board members, if you have any comments at this time? Questions?
No comments.
Thank you. Vice Chair Pennock, please read the public input statement.
Public comments related to education, the board agenda, and the district are welcome and encouraged. The public comment opportunity is not, however, an open forum to discuss matters unrelated to education, to support or oppose candidates for public office, or to engage in commercial speech attempting to sell a product or service to the board or the public. Also, public comment is not a forum to engage in personal attacks against the school system employees or board members. To maintain orderly conduct, the public comment segment of the meeting may not be used for any other purposes, including presentation of political and/or campaign issues, matters involving disciplinary action, pending employee disciplinary matters, or pending claims, complaints, or litigation against the district or district personnel. Participants are required to engage in meaningful but civil communications. The presiding officer of the board or the parliamentarian may order the removal of any person interfering with the expeditious or orderly process of such meeting, provided such officer has first issued a warning that continued interference with the orderly process of the meeting will result in removal. All statements shall be directed at the presiding officer. No person may address or question the board members individually. Each statement made by a member of the public shall be limited to 3 minutes in duration. A designated group representative will have a maximum of 6 minutes. No speaker may yield his or her time to another person. And this policy does not prohibit the board from maintaining orderly conduct or proper decorum in a public meeting.
Thank you. Ms. Cole-Palmer, we have a unique situation. Would you kind of address it for us, please, on some of the speakers?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As we all are aware, we do have several individuals here that we've been alerted to would like to make statements in the public comment section from the area of transportation, and they're certainly welcome to do so. However, I do want to caution everyone and remind them that we are in a collective bargaining posture, and therefore the board and none of the administrators would be able to respond in any way to any of the comments that are made.
Thank you very much. Cheryl Bryant, Emily O'Ray, and Joyce Stricker. Please come up to the podium. And please identify yourself and list your address. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Cheryl Bryant. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. In the previous work meeting, the board addressed speaking limits for the public in the board meetings. If the board is truly interested in public input and opinion, you will allow the public to speak. 3 minutes is a good amount of time. Anything less would make it very difficult to present facts and express complex opinions. There was discussion of limiting the public comment period to 30 minutes. This would exclude the voices of many. Although disallowing public input has been the MO of many boards across the country, I expect better of this board. Also, there was discussion of having parents speak just first over concerned citizens, before concerned citizens. This is a horrible idea. It would overcomplicate the process, and actually this would exclude parents who might have to work and would then have to come, and then they would be at the point where the concerned citizens would be speaking, and then that would exclude their voice. So I don't think that's a good idea at all. So allowing the public to speak is really important. We all know that. I believe that you guys also believe that. And I think that allowing 3 minutes is a decent and reasonable amount of time. So please don't limit the amount of time for the public to give you input, to allow for you to know what the community is thinking. And I just think that already we are in an environment where folks are agitated enough, and I just think that would be a really bad idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ori. Good evening, board members. First, I'd like to make it clear that I'm speaking tonight for myself and myself only. My comments do not reflect the opinions of any organization that I'm a part of. Here tonight, unfortunately, to express my great disappointment and honestly disgust of how the majority of this board has treated this school year thus far. Each of you were elected under the guise of protecting our children, staff, and all families that rely on Seminole County Public Schools to provide a safe, inclusive, and stable learning environment for their children. You are not following through on providing this. Our schools are unsafe. Students are being tested. Our students are testing positive and being quarantined more than ever due to your lax mask plan and are losing important learning time. In the latest CDC update, studies confirm that mask wearing in schools reduces the spread of COVID. It is no surprise on why we are seeing an uptick in cases when you refuse to mandate mask wearing. Earlier this month, my child tested positive for COVID and was hospitalized due to complications because of COVID. I know without a doubt that he caught COVID at school, and my son is still having ongoing medical issues due to COVID that we have to continue to monitor, and we have no idea on what the future holds for him health-wise. I stood in front of you back in June, and I told you that this would happen to our students and that are unable to be vaccinated. You still opted to lift the mask mandate, and because of it, my child paid the price with their health, as did I, because I also caught COVID from him. Even though I'm fully vaccinated, it was one of the worst experiences that I ever had to go through, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. You know that our schools are unsafe, so please do something about it. I'm frustrated with the lack of leadership from the majority of this board. Being a leader means sometimes taking the hard road and standing up against the injustice and to do what's right. and that means protecting our students. The majority of this board aren't going to do that and still have not done that. I used to want to give you the benefit of the doubt, but now it's clear that you're simply cowardly and awful leaders. My family isn't the only one in this district that has paid the price for your political theater to pad your angry base. And I urge you to act now to implement a mandatory mask mandate, make sure all that are exposed to a COVID-positive individual are quarantined to prevent further spread of the virus, and simply just do your job and protect those that you serve. Please do the right thing and make better choices. Thank you.
Thank you. Please refrain from clapping.
Joy Stricker. I live in Sweetwater Oaks. I am not going to talk about the wide range of available COVID therapeutics. I'm not going to talk about COVID's extraordinarily high survival rates among children. I'm not going to talk about the vaccine's universal availability to adults. Tonight, I'm going to talk about the very narrow subject of mask mandates in schools because, like President Biden, my patience is wearing thin. First of all, what's the point of a school mask mandate at all when large chunks of time are set aside for being unmasked? Students are not required to mask up for lunch or recess or PE. Second of all, the vast majority of masks worn by students don't work to protect the wearer from COVID. I know this because the manufacturer of these masks put the disclaimer right on the box that says not intended for medical use, does not meet PPE standards. Finally, if masks alone protected people from contracting COVID, why do medical personnel in COVID wards cover themselves from head to toe? COVID ward doctors and nurses will wear, at a minimum, a cap, gown, N95 mask, goggles, gloves, and booties. Oftentimes, they can be seen in full hazmat gear. Mask mandates of any kind in our schools serve no valid purpose unless your endgame is indoctrinating thousands of children to become obedient, submissive sheep. Don't fall victim to the online hysterics of parents who are posting hashtag 83%. I didn't write a note because my daughter chooses to wear a mask. I am not against masks, but make no mistake about it, I am 100% opposed to mask mandates of any kind in schools because they impinge upon parental rights, especially in light of the fact that there's no state of emergency and those 2 weeks to flatten the curve have now stretched out into 18 months. Be brave, be bold, and be patriotic. Drop our mask mandate altogether and make masks optional for teachers, students, and staff. Make masks optional, nothing will change when it comes to students. Kids who want to wear masks will still wear masks. Kids who don't want to wear masks can get that opt-out note on their records expunged. If you make masks optional for teachers, they just might be happy to come to work again, as opposed to saying, I got the vaccine so we could go back to normal, but here's my second year of wearing masks. And finally, if you make masks optional, you just might be hailed as local heroes. One last word of advice to those board members who wrongfully assume that our children are obedient sheep. Every one of these little sheep have a mama bear or papa bear guarding them from home, and we will never stop protecting them from tyrannical school boards who seek to harm them. Thank you.
Debbie Smith, Jeannie Fisher, Penny Lawson,
Debbie Smith, Winter Park, Seminole County resident since 1989. The Establishment Clause acts as a double security, prohibiting both religious abuse of government and political control of religion. Under it, the federal government of the United States, as well as governments of all U.S. states and U.S. territories, are prohibited from establishing or sponsoring religion. The most famous reference was by Thomas Jefferson in 1802, letter to Danbury Baptist Association. In it, Jefferson declared that when the American people adopted the Establishment Clause, they built a wall of separation between the church and state. I felt it was important to remind the board that they represent public schools, because I have witnessed Christians use their Bibles, and beliefs call into question science and curriculum. The board represents students of all faiths and those who do not follow any religious doctrine. There are 3 branches of government, as they will learn in their new civics class, and the Bible isn't one of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Refrain from clapping. Jeannie Fisher, are you still here? Thank you. And Penny Lawson, and then Victoria Beland.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of the school board tonight. I'm here speaking on behalf of the Lake Mary softball program. Over the past 31 years, I have been the head softball coach at Lake Mary High School. During this time, we have gone from playing on campus for 3 years to building a new field in 1995. Today, we are facing the possibility of playing off campus once again. This is happening because the softball field does not drain properly. The Title IX guarantees that softball and baseball facilities must be of the same quality. The softball and baseball fields are not. Most importantly, the quality of the field surface is not the same. This has been an issue for the past 23 years. The program has spent over $40,000 to fix the drainage problem, none of which has been successful. Players and parents are entrusting us to provide a safe playing surface for the softball program. When I returned to the field in August, the field had not been mowed for several weeks, simply because the field was too wet to drive a mower on the field without leaving ruts and getting stuck. When parents and players did walk the field, they were surrounded with 3 to 4 inches of water and left with footprints where they stood. This is definitely not an example of a safe playing surface. In order to fix the problem, the field needs to be renovated by a turf company that specializes in softball fields. We have been in contact with several companies to get quotes for the renovation. They have told us that this renovation must be started by October 18th in order to play the spring season on the campus, which starts January 24th of 2022. We are here asking for your help with the renovation cost. Our softball parents have and will continue to support the Lake Mary High School softball program. However, these costs exceed way beyond our organization's contributions and fundraising capabilities. So we are asking for your help in this process. A few other things that I would like to add is that in 31 years, we have had several young ladies go from our program into D1 programs. This has been a huge exposure opportunity for these ladies to be involved in sports after high school. It has brought people, it has brought coaches, it has brought recognition to the school and to Seminole County. At this point, if we are not allowed to play on our field in the spring, it will be devastating for our program. These opportunities will not be there. The girls will not have the opportunity to be seen. Revenue will be lost.
It's your time, Ms. Fisher. Thank you. If you have additional comments you want to share, Jill can share them with us. Please.
Thank you. First, I want to say thank you for all that you do for your
Please introduce yourself.
I'm sorry?
Please introduce yourself for the record. Thank you.
With the softball program. Second, thanks for allowing me to speak on behalf of the amazing softball parents that we have at our school. We are asking for your participation and financial support for much needed improvements to our high school and make it playable for our spring season. Our seniors especially want the opportunity to play their senior year on their home field. And as you all know, they love to represent their schools. I personally have been a high school softball parent for the past 7 years straight through. I've had a couple girls come through the program. In that time, I cannot count the number of fundraisers, team dues, field cleanup days, concession stand duties, t-shirt sales, etc., that have been needed to help keep up to the maintenance on that field. I promise it's been an unbelievable time and financial commitment for all the people that are involved. We all strive to provide a safe and playable field for our athletes to shine. Our field has had many problems over the years. I'll speak to the condition from 7 years ago when I came into the Lake Mary High School program. The field was unplayable for the first fall season as well, so 7 years ago, had the same problem. All games were played elsewhere. I scheduled a meeting with our athletic director. Of course, I got involved. We tried to make changes. We made meetings. Mr. Doug Peters was fantastic, took the notes needed. We got people out there. We brought the time and attention that was needed. Unfortunately, not quite enough. Fast forward a few more years, more meetings, time to walk the field, taking other people around to assess. Again, the field's still having drainage problems. More work needs to be done. Currently, the field is unplayable yet again. So here we are 7 years later, in my experience, as you can tell. Once again, all games need to be played at other schools' fields. That is a scheduling problem, as you can imagine, as well. The infield needs work. The outfield needs work. The morning track needs work. We're at a point that masking the problem will no longer be effective. Major improvements, our program definitely needs your assistance. We've had multiple companies, all capable of renovating the field, to come out, look at their, and give us their reviews. They all agree the field needs a complete overhaul in order to get the real issues resolved and improve the playability of the field. We work throughout the year to raise money, ask for sponsorships, promote our school and our program. At this time, we need our school board to get involved to make improvements for our young female athletes that are counting on us. Thank you again.
Thank you. Victoria Beland, then Jessica Tillman, and Andrew Gorman.
Good evening. My name is Victoria Beland, and I am currently a senior at Lake Mary High School. I have been a student athlete of this program for the previous 3 years, and I'm on behalf of all past, present, and future athletes of this program. Over the past 3 years, there have been numerous concerns as it relates to the safety of my teammates and the condition of the concerns consist of twisting, spraining, straining, hyperextending of the knees and ankles, extremities such as the wrists. By not addressing or improving these conditions, we are significantly increasing the risk of injuries. As an athlete, there's always a chance of injury. With the current field conditions, that chance of injury is multiplied substantially. This field does not drain properly, and our outfield has many holes and divots. Sometimes it's soft and wet, and other times it's hard and the divots catch our cleats. Then there are times when the outfield retains so much water that we are slipping and sliding everywhere. Even though the infield was just re-leveled in recent years, we still have major drainage issues. The water runoff into the dugouts causes the infield to lose clay and be uneven. Where the infield and outfield connect, the lip is so bad that it causes bad hops and players trip over it regularly. If the field conditions were taken care of, many of these issues stated above could have been prevented. After talking with the other seniors, we are asking for your help to expediently help us repair our field this fall. We are looking forward to celebrating our senior season together with many home games filled with school spirit and our senior night. This is something that all players look forward to. The Lake Mary Rams softball program thanks you for your time and consideration. Have a blessed night.
Jessica Tillman.
Jessica Tillman from Longwood. First, I'd like to add on to, I do support the softball field being. adding the Parents' Bill of Rights policy. We would really like the policies discussed earlier to reflect choice for medical devices and no discrimination for medical status. The mask procedure will be expiring soon, and we hope you will allow it to expire. You no longer have a say if asymptomatic students have to quarantine and numbers are down. You have never actually had metrics as to what warrants masking anyone, and still have not provided any data or supporting masking, especially over a long period of time. There are plenty of districts in Florida that have left it is optional, and those districts have no problems. There is no conflict, division, and there is no confusion about it. Flip-flopping, going back and forth, only continues the division and argument. Hopefully, our state legislators will step in and ban mask mandates to end the discussion once and for all. I also want to say public input at school board meetings should allow for all who come to speak. I agree separating agenda items, comments, and non-agenda items could allow for those speakers to the agenda to leave once there is a vote. But I would also like to point out, any board member can bring up any topic at any time on the agenda or not, as we have clearly seen this year. So if that were to happen and there were a vote, how would you manage people speaking on such topics? You'd also have to consider if a speaker is addressing multiple items. Would that person need to speak in both sections? If not, all topics are in, if all their topics were not in the agenda. I think anyone who comes should get their 3 or 6 minutes. People take time to prepare their statements and would be disheartened to get here and need to limit their comment. I am happy to hear the majority embrace public comment and truly reflect on our input. Intake of speaker forms should remain accepted through public comment. I look forward to seeing where this policy goes and know it will be updated for the better. I do know that Orange County limits non-agenda comments to 30 minutes and is not recorded. Let's not let that happen here in Seminole. Just because it's not on your agenda does not mean it's not important to someone. Again, please do not orange our Seminole. How few there are who have courage enough to own their faults or resolution enough to mend them. Benjamin Franklin. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Gorman, then Chanta Henderson, and Natasha Johnson. Good evening.
Good, thank you. My name is Andrew Gorman. I am a parent of a Seminole child in Seminole County Public Schools. My purpose here tonight is to bring up and raise the awareness of critical race theory in Seminole. Very factual, because there's a lot of emotion, I'm sure. Early in the school year, I got some calls from friends that are parents at Lake Howell and Seminole High School, and they said, hey, have you seen some of the material? Talk to our kids. I said, what are you talking about? So I picked up my kid's book and their tablet, and I started looking through that. And sure enough, I brought 2 articles with me, and I'll just have very quick quotes from them. But in short, there is a rule now that was passed by the Department of Education, and it prohibits critical race theory. It specifically states it is 6A 1.094124. Instruction on the required topics must be factual and objective. It may not suppress or distort significant historical events. Examples of theories that distort historical events are inconsistent with state board-approved standards include the denial of Holocaust, the teaching of critical race theory, meaning the theory of racism is not merely a product of prejudice, but that racism is embedded in society and its legal systems in order to uphold the supremacy of white persons. That is prohibited now in our rules. Here is one article that my son was forced to read for a grade. So to build my students' comprehension and sharpen their analytical skills, I developed a unit where I introduced them to an allegory derived from popular culture, using story arcs from X-Men franchise. After these simple inquiries, students begin to see how X-Men, sorry, I'm a little emotional about this, is an allegory for experiences of marginalized people, non-white, non-male, non-Christian, non-heteronormative, in an oppressive society. That, to me, meets the definition of critical race theory. My son raised his hand and said, I think Christians are also persecuted. He was mocked in his class, English class. For the record, and I'll give it to the clerk, I just have a few articles that if it were fair and balanced, 2240 the policy of our school board says Christian persecution not just happening overseas, many target in the U.S. phase 2. While Christian persecution is widely recognized in other countries, most do not realize persecution has happened right at home. The coming persecution for Christian Americans. I'm not here to talk about Christianity, but it was brought into the classroom and it touched a nerve. So that's one article. The second article talks about, and it's from Newsy LA, which is sourced by Washington Post partners, New York Times partners. New York Times is the author, part Nicole Hannah-Jones of 1619 Project. But this is where this material comes from, Newsy LA. Afrofuturism style of fantasy and science fiction is coming on strong. This whole article about Afrofuturism talks about a world essentially as if white people had never colonized. It's disturbing, and it is part of popular culture, but I do want to read one article from a teacher in Kentucky who published something.
Your time is up, Mr. Gorman.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It does talk about white supremacy, but I will get into it.
Please share it.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, a moment, please.
Please hold.
Madam Chair, a moment, please. If everyone could please silence their cell phone and keep the chatter down so that we can hear what is being said by the speakers. Please silence your cell phone and keep chatter down. Thank you.
Shanta Henderson, Natasha Johnson, Willie Brown, Ace Rever. When you come up, please introduce yourself for the record.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent. I am Shantae Henderson. I am ESP, a bus driver, as well as the president of the Seminole County School Bus Driver Association. I stand here before you today to bring awareness to the workload versus the pay of a group of people who, without this district, could not have achieved the accolades that the county enjoys, such as being ranked 12th in the state and 60th nationally. Also noticed to be the premier national school district. Standing with us are parents of this district, as well as community in which we serve. As a faithful 16-year veteran of this district, my salary reflects the salary of a first-year employee. I am forced to depend on help from someone to help me meet my day-to-day basic needs. I am therefore asking, would you all consider speaking with the district's negotiation team about paying a better starting salary that will allow the hiring of new bus drivers and monitors so our managers can manage without being bus drivers, so that our routing specialists can route without being a bus driver, so our dispatchers can dispatch without being a bus driver. And so our administration can run transportation department without being a dispatcher or a router. As a driver or monitor, it is stressful when you cannot receive help from your managers, routers, or other office personnel because they are being a bus driver. Also, give us pay a salary that allows us to be independent and without the stress of worrying about how to pay our monthly bills. A salary that a veteran driver or monitor can say they are appreciated. A salary that is compatible with the cost of living here in Seminole County. A salary that will decrease stress but improve productivity within the transportation department. And lastly, a salary that will allow this district to achieve even higher marks state and nationwide, a district that you all represent. Thank you for listening.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent. My name is Natasha Johnson, and I work for transportation. Speaking on behalf of myself and Pamela Fields, we both been drivers for Seminole County for 21 years. Our hourly rate is $16.04. New drivers come in with no experience at $14.53. They say our jobs are important. Well, why don't our pay show it? At this point, McDonald's, Walmart, Publix, and Amazon make more money than we do. When the recession hit, they decided there wasn't enough money to give ESPs. Not once have I heard of any school closing. Most ESPs have to work several jobs just to make ends meet. It's unfair how one could think they understand what we go through. Have you ever been sick but came to work because you knew your job was already short-staffed? Have you ever been at work wondering where your next meal would come from? Or would you have enough gas to make it to and from work? Or have you ever looked at your check and wondered which bill was more important to pay because you didn't have enough for both? We ask ourselves that daily. When Volusia, as well as other counties, started back this school year, they gave all their ESPs $1,000 and paid them back the money they paid in insurance this year. When will Seminole County step up and do what's right for their employees? Have you ever loved your job so much in the same sentence you didn't want to be there anymore? Yes, we deal with out-of-control kids and sometimes parents who don't care. Administrators who refuse to discipline the kids to make our jobs a little easier, but yet we try to be faithful to our job who care less if our bills are paid or not. This is where we are now. We are sick and tired. Change has to come. Pay us. Thank you.
Order, please. Order, please. Order, please. Next speaker.
We want you to be able to stay in the room, but you'll have to please keep order. Willie Brown, Ace Rever, Justin Thomas, Sue Carson.
Hello, my name is Willie Brown, and I'm a bus monitor for Seminole County Transportation. My role is to assist the driver and be the monitor to kids with or without special needs. That consists of a car seat, wheelchair, etc. I'm a father figure to some, mentor, big brother, uncle, or simply someone they can talk to. We have stressful days to the point we want to just give up. But we take pride in our job. But the fact there is, $10.79, $14.43 doesn't cover our daycare bills, doesn't cover our rent or mortgage, and family time. We can't even interact with our kids because there's nothing there but our passion for our job, what keeps us here. So we ask of you to give us what we're worth. We are the first person in the morning, the last person in the afternoon that the kids interact with. So we ask, please understand, this is not a thanking matter. This is something we deserve. Seminole County, we are one. We are one family, one body, united together, making a stand for what we deserve, which is a nice percentage raise in our step-ups. Please put a smile on our face as we put a smile on each and every student face, for picking them up to dropping them off. And I hope this decision is the best decision that's made because we are Seminole County Transportation.
Order, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Ace Revor. I'm here as part of the Transportation Union. Simple. I can't be here long because I got to be at work. I spray Seminole County's Wilson Elementary every night to make sure that they are protected from COVID. That is my job. I have to do that because I do not make enough money as a bus driver. I serve lunches at Markham because they need the help and I need the money because they do not have enough people and I need to be able to pay my bills so that I can survive. I work 3 jobs. I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I do not get home until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, if I'm lucky. That 5 days a week, I'm working 3 jobs. It's hard. we have to be able to see those kids smile and be able to get them to their jobs so that y'all can work. Every single one of you sends your child to school. You don't drive them, you have us do it. We do it the best we can. Some of those kids are out of hand. We do the best we can. Some of those kids can only get so many reprimands because they can only be out of school for 10 days. We do the best we can. We are suffering. We are hurting. We do everything we possibly can to make sure that those kids get there. I love them. I enjoy interacting with them. Any of these people will tell you that my bus is a cartoon. I've got comic books all over the place. I've got movies. I love interacting with them, and they love getting on my bus. But I got to work. But if I don't have the drive and I don't have the money, I can't afford to work. I've got to find a job elsewhere. And there are jobs out there that are hiring and paying CDL drivers to drive for them. They are begging for drivers. Amazon is paying almost $20 an hour. They'll work you like a dog, but you know what? We are working like a dog because I'm working from 5 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. I'm not a custodial supervisor, but yet I'm locking up a school. I'm setting the alarm. I'm not a chef. I'm not part of a lunch crew, but yet I'm in there doing the best I can to survive to make sure that our kids have healthy lunches. They don't have the money. They don't have the people. We need to get paid more. We are struggling. We are suffering. We're begging family members, friends, hey, can you spot me $50? We're doing everything we can so that we can be able to do our jobs. You can't find a place to live for less than $1,000 in the Seminole County area and have your own space. You have to find someone to live with. We're suffering. I had to beg my parents to help me to get through last year so that I could have a place to live and I could work. We need the money. If you want us to drive further, hour and a half, 2 hours on top of what we do, fine, we'll do it. But when we start having problems because we're not getting enough rest and we don't have the money to pay for our car to be able to work, that falls on you. We're there. We're here to help. We want to work with you, and we want to make sure that those kids get the best that they can. Thank you for your time.
Justin Thomas, and then Sue Garson.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Justin Thomas, and I'm speaking on behalf of all the faculty and staff. Continuing these bargaining negotiations, we have to put our people first. So COVID funding, that should have been given to the people. The consumer price index has increased by a rate of 6% over this last year, which means everything from the price of groceries, to used cars, to a wedding dress has increased, while we've seen nothing increase in our wages. Other business, as many have stated before, are forced to increase their salaries. Employees. Over the months of March through following the beginning of the pandemic, we've seen sacrifices that we cannot let go unnoticed. These people, bus drivers, custodians, went from school to school, putting gas in their car, while other employees, they didn't have to show up, sure, but they made the sacrifice. They just saw nothing. Some of us traveled from Oviedo to Heathrow. That's time and money that we didn't get compensated for. So again, I just ask, as we oversee bargaining negotiations, please don't let these sacrifices go unnoticed. Thank you.
Sue Carson, then Tony Redmond, and then M. Monty Charles.
Good evening, school board members and Superintendent Beeman. My name is Sue Carson, and I'm here tonight to represent the SCPS President, Rosie Garrido. My name is Rosie Garrido. I have been a faithful employee of Seminole County for 24 years, working in the Human Resource Department my entire career. The purpose of this correspondence is to express to you all the dire need our employees are facing each and every day. In this crucial time, our jobs are even more important than ever, and we are going above and beyond to make sure our children, our coworkers, and our families are safe. Not only are we doing our jobs, but we are also having to multitask and cover other positions without being recognized or paid for all the hard work we are doing. We are asking you to please consider giving these same employees a livable wage increase for everyone. And I implore you, don't forget your veteran employees who have really dedicated their lives in this work for years. Everyone who has been loyal to your positions, to the children, to the schools, and the community in the great state of Florida. I wish I could be here in person to deliver this message, but unfortunately, I had a family emergency. In solidarity, Rosie Garrido.
To the superintendent and the board members, my name is Tony Redmond. Right at the beginning of the meeting, we recited the Pledge of Allegiance. Right at the end, where it talks about in liberty, justice for all. That's why I'm here, representing NIFSCO. I want to say the majority in here in this room now would be considered, I would say, as frontline soldiers. Saying that pandemic started, we was out on the front line, while everybody else was at home living safely, and they didn't have to deal with this. We was going from school to school, and once school started, we were going classroom to classroom, spraying, trying to keep this virus under control. So I'm here now asking about this COVID money that we were supposed to receive, but we had not received it yet. So I'm asking the question, what do we have to do and how long do we have to wait before we receive what's that we so rightly deserve? So again, I pray and hope that the right thing is being done. Again, we are frontline soldiers. We've been out here fighting for almost 2 years, but yet and still, we had not received anything pertaining for as money is concerned. So I hope and pray that the right thing is being done.
Board, my name is Ms. Monty. Thank you for having me speak. How many of us will go into a high-risk surgery knowing that our surgeon has just got out of an 8 to 10-hour surgery with little or no rest or breaks in between? I'm gonna guess I'll get no takers. How then, and could we consider or insist on allowing our underpaid professional monitors and drivers to work similar schedules, with our main focus being the safe transport of our precious students? Each school day, some of us manage to successfully run our assigned bus routes with little issues on our part, all while juggling 2 or 3 jobs annually, year-round. We do this with care for our awesome students, parents, colleagues, and love for our profession. We continue to do this despite of the receipt of our 26 annual gross paychecks, totaling $961.22, that are $224.38 less per gross paycheck than the current Florida living wage minimum standards for a single person with no dependents. Our much-needed sanitation workers are paid a living wage to transport trash in order to make this beautiful county clean and beautiful. Should
the cost of transporting one of our most valuable assets be just the same or greater importance? I leave that question to you. I'm the face of one of those drivers that had to give this position up to move on. Thank you.
Ms. Davis, Carlos Betancourt, Shelley Gaiman, and Lisa Moore.
Connie Davis, I'm reading letters for the board and the superintendent. I'm reading letters for Stephanie Vargas and Kim Douglas on their behalf. Stephanie, I'm writing this letter in hopes to pursue our union for the school board will give our drivers, Seminole County, a raise. We are dedicated employees that hold our positions with importance and essential workers who continue transporting students in these uncertain times while ensuring all health and safety protocols are followed. Unfortunately, we are also experiencing hardships and inadequate times maintaining our households with the current pay rate. It is a struggle to balance working enough hours to pay our bills, house payments, and groceries, to name a few, while having enough time to take care of our families in situations involving single parents with a single income limit options for child care. It is because of these hardships that these experiencing, we hope that you understand the necessary for us to receive an increase in pay within our organization. With increase in pay, we will become financially stable enough to take care of our obligations and maintain a healthy, processive lives, along with keeping employee morale, professional competence high. Thus continue our strive to excellence and safety is driving within Seminole County Public Schools. And this is from Kim Dawes. Is the last name right? I'm writing this letter on behalf of the monitors' wages guarantee hourly rates as of Monday, September 27th. This letter is making surrounding counties aware that not likely they are making more hourlies as well as guarantee hours per contract. As of myself, this concerns, I cover myself routes as well as others routes as needed. My official employment date starts as the 2nd of February the 16th, 1993. For whatever reason, they are counting back as 1998, in which my hourly rate was $8.14 per hour. My hourly rate at this time is $15. The monitors are only guaranteed 5 hours per day. It is my understanding that many surrounding counties are making more hours than Seminole County. Also, managers, as well as districts and transportations are definitely trying to find extra work so that our income is increased. I don't feel that extra work is the answer. We don't feel that monitors or drivers are making what they deserve and should be getting on a regular basis.
It's your time. Thank you.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. My name is Carlos Betancourt. I'm a bus driver. I've been working in this company for the last 5 years. Before this, I was an owner-operator over the road. And why I bring this up? Because the phrase fatigue heard in the DOT process. What that means? That means that a driver over the road can drive 14 hours, but you need to rest 10. If you can hear all my fellow drivers here, for them to be able to survive, they're doing 3 and 4 jobs. I bring a lot of numbers here, but the most important number that I bring here is 64,000 to 67,000. That's the household average on a middle class family. Guys, excuse me, we're not even close to that. As a veteran, the worst feeling in your heart is to see a war out there coming to your backyard. What do you think is going to happen? If you guys are reading what's going on, Atlanta, Connecticut, Delaware, bus drivers are refusing to drive. Kids are standing on the bus stops waiting to go to school. In my opinion, that we are part of this big family. Teachers are important, janitors are important, bus drivers are important, monitors are important. What we're asking in here is what we call salary justice. Nothing else, nothing more. And in my opinion, again, if we don't do that, we will have to use that title of that famous Colombian writer, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, when he said, una crónica de una muerte anunciada, in English will translate, and help me out, Abby, will be chronicle of a death foretold if we don't do what we need to do. Thank you very much, and good luck.
Shelley Gaiman, Lisa Moore, Rosalie Vargas, and Jennifer Flores.
My name is Shelley Gaiman. I am a bus monitor. I have been a bus monitor for 11 years. So, I make $11.23 an hour. Mr. Brown, who was just here, makes $10.79 an hour. I make, for 11 years, 44 cents more an hour than he does for 11 years. And when you talk about that, that comes out to 4.4 cents an hour per year that you think I'm worth. This nickel, every year. This nickel right here is what I'm worth every year that I work here. You give me another nickel. That's it. I take on the most challenging children in this county on my bus. They ask me, they come to me and say, Shelley, I have a student that's really having a rough time. You think you can put him on your bus? I know you can handle it. I say, no problem. Okay? The monitors have no problem doing what we are asked, which is to take care of the ESE students and to have control of the bus while the driver drives them to and from school. But we're worth more than 5 cents a year. That's it. That's all you
Order,
give
please.
us.
Order. Allow the speaker to finish.
That is it. 5 cents a year. I have to have the government subsidize my housing. I have to have the government put food on my table to feed my family. I have to have the government do the medical for my family. I would qualify too, except y'all offer the insurance that nobody wants, but I have to take it and I have to pay for it I make $392 every 2 weeks. That's how much I bring home. $392. A family of 4 lives on that. And only because the government helps. Not because I'm not worth it, because you guys don't think I am. 1 nickel. Thank you.
Good evening, Board. Good evening, Superintendent. My name is Lisa Moore. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and for Michelle Gainey, also another driver. I'm just going over a couple of things that factor into why we need a pay increase. Most of us have spoken on the cost of living here being very expensive in Seminole County. We're definitely overworked. There's a lot of things going on. We're fatigued. There are potential violations in DOT because we have to drive the kids to school. We have field trips that we have to do. Then we do other jobs in between, whether it's cleaning and sanitizing the schools, myself included. I did it last year and will probably have to do it again this year, working at Caroline, drop off my kids in the morning, park my bus at the elementary school, go in the kitchen and work 4 hours get back on the bus, and then continue my route and take my kids home. I love my job. I've only been here for 3 years, but I do love it. But also, I also need to be able to pay my bills, pay my car note, and not have to work 3 and 4 other jobs, and potentially, again, violate and be in DOT regulations because I'm working past those hours. We also need better driving buses as well. We don't have the best buses currently right now. The cost of insurance is going up, which someone else just mentioned. It's a lot. I can barely afford the insurance myself. My health is declining, but I can't afford the insurance because I'm overworked. And I'm just hoping, board, that you guys respectfully pay us what we are due. That way you can continue to have the remaining Seminole County employees that you do have. Because if not, they're out the door. You already just saw one that came up here. She's already gone. Respectfully, that you guys will do what is correct, what is right. Michelle Gainey, another driver I'm speaking for, hopefully I can be really quick. These are her words. She would like drivers to be paid living wages, at least $20 an hour after proration. The living cost in Seminole County is expensive. Pay drivers and monitors for extra runs that they do. Give drivers and monitors a bonus for being there through COVID, pretty much COVID pay, because we are essential. Give annual raises and put steps back, not for new drivers, same as seasonal. Her words, she would like for you all to walk in our shoes to see if you can experience 30 days and see if you can survive off of our salary. Pay us what we're worth for the job that we're doing. A company that takes care of their employees take care of their employees and retain their employees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Roseli Gonzalez. For the past 7 years, I have working as a driver in Seminole County. I'm a single mother of 3 children, and I have to do different things to support my family. I had to sacrifice my children's time to give them what they need. During the last 2 years, I have experienced an increase on my rent of almost $300, but my salary still remains the same. I cannot fail to mention that I not receive any help from the government. This increase means a lot to me because I can give you my children a better qualified time and resume those plans that I had to put on pause. Thank you.
Jennifer Flores and Caroline Forwood. Ruth Edifor. Jennifer?
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Flores. I am a bus monitor. I'm barely scraping by. Very little. I burn my candle at both ends. I work very hard for very little money that I earn. I take care of all of my kids, special needs or not. I smile to them through my mask. I also cheer them up when they are crying on my bus, all of my kids. We work hard, we scrape, and we work. For very little in each of our bills that we get paid, hard to pay them. Pay our insurance, pay anything that we can pay. It's hard for me to buy groceries every week or every other 2 weeks. Got to make that decision to make what bills to pay. We work hard for our money for very little.
line forward. A 14-year experienced driver makes the same wage as a newbie. Step raises were stopped. Who suckered this plan up? What incentive is there to stay? First item that needs to change. 3 buses broke down on me last week. On one, I had to evacuate 40 high school students. I protect them from each other, won't drop off in questionable situations, and try to return their belongings. We all have to update seating charts and write referrals constantly. Now, going green, we have to learn how to input all these forms online. Office support has tripled in the last few years, along with useless high salaries. Efficiency and productivity is key in office support. Give drivers higher wages as we're the keystone bricks. New stops and routes are changed daily without consent. Here, they say, do this now. A stop that adds 30 minutes and completely out of the way is thrown at us when another driver runs right past it. We volunteer for emergency situations like breakdowns, the Lake Mary High School electrical issue, and short staff coverage. This is a huge responsibility for our measly wage. We deserve at least $3 more per hour and a plan of higher raises for the next 5 years. We deliver our students safely and try to be on time. Without us, you've got nothing. Pay us what we're worth.
Dedeford, then Anthony Nanali and Sandy Stenoff and Nina Sandberg.
Good evening. My name is Ruth Dedeford. This is my 7th year as a Seminole County school bus driver. Since I've come to SCPS, I've seen rapid decline of the transportation department. $14.53 an hour is not a livable wage. I've not missed a day of work since my date of hire. Many of my colleagues are just as dedicated, and they tell you how much they love their job. As a reward, we are overworked trying to make up for the vacancies that go unfilled. To remain at this job, I stay at the poverty level. I decided a few years ago to give up my vehicle and use public transportation just to be able to make ends meet. Your employees, your people are suffering. They're here to tell you they need your help. They want to stay at their job. It's just, you know, what is your legacy going to be? You sit there and you have important decisions to make. We need you. We need you to help us because we want to stay at our job. We love our jobs. Thank you.
Greetings, Superintendent and board members of this great Seminole County public school community. My name is Anthony Nunley. I am a Seminole County public school bus driver, and I love my career. I enjoy being a part of this big community. Yes, I believe it is right to say a community. I see my coworkers, colleagues, managers, and you, our public school leaders, as a community that stands together to give our students access to a great education and a future. Students learn not just by what they hear, but by what they see. It is said in our very own transportation handbook in the introduction section, it identifies a bus driver as a silent teacher. The truth of the matter is, not only are we silent as we operate our vehicles, we are also spoken teachers when we arrive on the bus ramp. And believe it or not, at times we have to pull the bus over to a safe location to advise, teach, and guide students so that we can fulfill our first duty as a bus driver, and that is to get every single student to school and back home safe and sound. It is unfortunate that we have to come before you tonight to petition our leaders to compensate the very part of our community that literally drives it. We drive our future to the teacher that awaits the arrival of their students. We drive the sports team all throughout the week to put to work the very skill they've worked so hard on to develop into a world-renowned athlete. We drive the marching band to represent their school and to create a fan base for their local sports team. No more is really needed to be said, but I will conclude it with this. My son attends Crystal Lake Elementary. He attends there because it's right around the corner from my wife's workplace. We chose this option because of the scarcity of bus drivers and not knowing if the bus would show up or not. All because of the hard-working bus driver compensation not matching the job description, which doesn't include the unforeseen challenges we face every day. Trust me, the challenges and this job is beyond what is being offered. It's time for change to happen. Thank you.
Sandy Sinoff.
My daughter is a senior at Lake Howell High School. Her English 4 honors teacher is out of school right now, quarantining for the second time since the start of the school year. Last Friday, there was no substitute available for her class. Administration had 5 students available. Administration had 5 students go to this class, 5 go to that class, 5 to another class, and so on. My daughter sat in a freshman math teacher's class to do her English 4 honors classwork on her own, and then she helped freshman students with their math. I'm glad she could be of service, but that's not what she's there for. Is this the high-quality education you want our kids to get back to so that the children of the 17% who are opting out of masks can have their freedom to run around unmasked? On September 13, WFTV featured SCPS parent Mrs. Ori, whose masked child contracted COVID when an unmasked classmate did as well. In response, SCPS said all families were given the option to go virtual and were even allowed extra time to enroll after the governor banned districts from full mask mandates. It is astounding that SCPS would promote the narrative that the 83% of parents in this district who choose to be responsible and caring for others' health can just find the door. If that was not the intention, that's what was said. Many parents are pulling their kids out of school, upending families to homeschool, whether they're qualified or not, to move out of this school district that they moved into because of the quality of education SCPS used to be known for, because they no longer trust you to prioritize their children's health and best interests. K-12 Inc. has not been accepted by the NCAA since 2014, but parents are signing up for K-12 Inc. virtual instead of SCPS because they say it provides more interaction with a teacher, like we had last year with Seminole Connect. That funding is leaking out of the district and the state of Florida even faster than it would gradually from parents who can't move out of the district immediately. This is only one cost of the district's lack of an evidence-based mask mandate and mitigation. When test scores come back next summer, will it be documented that the likely lowered scores were exacerbated by the district's mismanagement of COVID in our schools? Duval County is nearly twice the size of Seminole. At the beginning of the year, they had the same mask policy permitting parental opt-out for any reason. On September 7, they strengthened the policy permitting only valid medical exemptions. In 2 weeks, they realized a 4-fold decrease in daily cases. Today's SCPS dashboard shows 2.5 times more cases than Duval. What we are doing is not working. In the absence of a real mask mandate to mitigate community spread, I understand that you will likely not vote for a mask mandate today. I hope that you will agree to provide HEPA filters for classrooms not addressed by the enhanced air handling in place in high-use areas.
Please end your comments. It's time. Thank you. No, it's over. Thank you.
If being a school board member,
Ma'am, please step away from the mic.
please give us something to be thankful for.
Thank you.
Nina Sandberg, then J.J. Holmes, Allison Holmes, and Dan Smith.
Hi, I'm Nina Sandberg. You've wasted entirely too much time playing politics while the house burns down around you. You don't have textbooks for the academic subjects. Every time you fail to purchase science textbooks, you sabotage my child's science education for the entire year. Indian Trails Middle School needs 6th grade science textbooks. You need to deliver them to the school. Why are you wasting money on things such as brain pop when you aren't taking care of the basics? Get rid of iReady. It's boring, tedious, and miserable. Buy textbooks instead. You have serious problems in food service. You are understaffed and you cannot get all of the kids served within 15 minutes. Sometimes you can't even get the food cooked before the kids walk in for lunch. The kids near the end of the line don't get enough time to eat. They get less than 10 minutes to eat because you are understaffed. You don't have enough bus drivers because you don't pay enough money. You paid your substitute teachers the same daily wage for 20 years straight. You don't have enough substitute teachers. Kids have to go to the cafeteria and sit and do nothing for an entire period because there are no substitute teachers for their classes. You perform lots of dirty politics on employees who left after they were treated poorly. Many teachers quit, retired, or got fired because they disagreed with Common Core and with doing nothing but teaching to the standardized test. You need those teachers now, but you alienated them and they're gone. My child has to eat standing up, sitting on a ledge, and in the rain because you don't have enough tables and chairs for all the students in the cafeteria. You haven't bought PE equipment. The kids need PE equipment. You have all kinds of actual operational problems. Stop playing politics and get back to the business of managing a school system. If you would stop with the dirty mafia-style politics, you would retain more employees and things would run better. Thank you.
April Miles, or excuse me, Dan Smith, while we wait on the other two to come in. They're outside.
My name is Dan Smith. I'm a Seminole County resident. I live in Longwood, Florida, and I'm presently an employee of Seminole County Public Schools. I am a teacher in the district. Tonight, though, I am going to evade any comments of teaching, and I'm here supporting the non-instructional employees of Seminole County Public Schools and the work that they do and the little to no credit and very little compensation they get. As you're aware, at the legislative session last year, the governor had earmarked $187.5 million, what he said to reward the people who struggled, the heroes of last year. But he eliminated just the public educators in general and gave it only to classroom teachers and gave it to school principals, and left out many, many people, including the assistant principals, SAMs, 12% of our teachers, and 100% of our non-instructional employees. Now, this created a have and have-nots among our employees in public education, and now many of the have-nots that we'd had here were up to their elbows in COVID stress, getting Seminole's children through the most difficult year in their young lives. Our drivers had up at before sunset, putting their lives on the line before. Custodians are cleaning with toxic cleaners. Our food service people are just making sure the children have the safety and something to eat, which is sometimes the only 2 meals that they're going to get, not to mention our counselors and school social workers. So the have-nots came to school every day, and they were part of everything that had worked last year, but they are not being compensated if they're working 2 or 3 jobs, and their load has just gotten bigger. But there are some things that you could do. Regardless of any of this, Seminole County had access to $150 million in relief. $150 million in relief. Now, some of the surrounding districts have compensated their non-instructional employees to reward them for everything they've done. Orange has already given $1,000, Brevard $2,500, Osceola $1,500, Volusia $1,000, Polk $1,000, zero. 150 million access, and we've gotten 0 so far. Now, please take some time and think about this. These are heroes. These are absolute heroes. The type of work that they do, no complaints. I mean, I complain. They don't complain. They don't. And it is just amazing in this day and age, with a top school district like this, that they don't get any compensation for this, and they are heroes. So let's do better than 0 for them. Thank you very much.
April Miles.
Good evening. My name is April Miles, and I am here to speak for on public buses. I'm a second-time parent, go around and I'm raising my grandchildren. I have a special need grandchild that has behavioral problems. It hardens my heart when I hear about the demise of their pay, because I have a student that leaves out the house 6 o'clock in the morning that has opposition device, so he may be in this mood right now, and 10 minutes later he may be in another. I need for these people to be at peace when they drive our children. It is beyond reproach how anyone could think that they could survive and be attentive to be able to nurture to the needs of our children in the transition of going to school. We have to go out to work. We have to be able to take care of our families. And if we don't have that kind of security, and we don't have that kind of peace, then something is wrong. We entrust our children to the system. And if the ones that we entrust our children to are not being treated fair and are not getting what they need, then we have failed us all. We must do better and give them not what they want, what they need. So that I don't have to worry about if my child ain't get on the bus, because I have a bus driver that calls me and tell me, Miss Miles, Khalil is on the bus, or he made it to school. Why? Because sometimes my kid, because of his disability, he may not get on the bus. See, these people are attentive, and it goes beyond just a job. These are mothers, fathers, just as well. Their job is more important because we entrust in them to learn so that they can do the jobs or do better than what we are doing now. We must put a stop to this so that they can have peace, so that I can have peace, so that I can continue to get up and go out and don't worry. I don't have that much to say, but I know compassion and humanity need to be better than this. Because there's no reason why we should even be going through an issue with the people that transport our children, our grandchildren, back and forth to school. Over the summer through COVID, I watched these people as they got into schools, they passed out lunches.
Your time is up, please.
Thank you.
J.J. Holmes, Allison Holmes, Kelly Shilson, and Belinda Ewan.
Superintendent Beeman, members of the school board, my name is J.J. Holmes. I'm a student in SCPS and, most importantly, I am one of the 83%. I spoke at the last school board meeting, and I beg you all to make masks mandatory so I can safely return to school. Despite me begging you, you ignored me. I was shocked. I feel like I'm screaming for help as I'm drowning in front of you, and you just sit looking at me. I really want to go back to school because I feel extremely isolated and lonely at home. Want to really talk about freedom? Well, why should I lose my freedom to a free, appropriate public education just because the governor wants to score political points? It's not fair. I just want to learn. I know every single day that I am not in school, I'm falling further and further behind, but I just can't jeopardize my health and potentially even my life. I struggle to wear a mask because of my disability. But even if I could wear a mask all day, I use my nose to type on my iPad to communicate. I want the freedom to attend in-person school and not risk catching a deadly virus. The only way that I could go back is if masks are mandatory for all students, regardless of what any political leader says or does. It is not a matter of red versus blue. It is not a matter of right versus left. For me, it could be a matter of life versus death. Please, end this madness and make masks mandatory with the medical opt-out tonight. You, and only you, can stop me from falling behind even further by making masks mandatory. It is in your hands. Thank you for listening.
My name is Alison Holmes, 2 children. Last time I asked you about JJ's choices, and now we're told it's virtual school. Now, I'm not yet convinced that a student with a 20-page IEP in a virtual setting is a real choice, but that's all we've got. So on October the 6th, we'll be enrolling him. We actually had an IEP meeting last week about my son. I was told at that meeting, and I'm quoting exactly, "It is not a reasonable accommodation to take away someone else's rights." But the district wasn't referring to JJ. They were talking about him taking away rights from other people because of his disability. So with that in mind, I thought I'd try a different approach with you tonight. Our students are about to board a plane, but the FAA announces everybody needs to offload their luggage, otherwise the plane will be overweight, meaning it could be forced to crash land, possibly killing passengers. 83% of the parents say to their kids, "Leaving your luggage behind, no big deal." They tell their kids, this isn't just about protecting yourself, it's also about making sure someone else on the plane isn't harmed by your actions. But then 17% of parents say, "My child isn't leaving their bag. This will cause my child permanent psychological damage. This is child abuse. And this is like the Holocaust." Oh, and because these 17% have surfed through a few conspiracy sites on the internet, they now also consider themselves to be aviation experts. The parents then look to the captain and crew, and at this point, 83% of us are feeling quietly confident, as we've just heard from a panel of real aviation experts who explained, if you want to be certain everyone is safe, then all the luggage has to go. Inexplicably, the captain, the co-pilot, and crew member completely ignores every single word and decides the 17%, self-taught by Google, should have the final say on the safety of everyone in the plane. Of course, there's a passenger left on the runway, a boy in a wheelchair who uses a communication device. That boy was given 3 minutes in front of the crew to beg them not to leave him behind, even though there's a law that says he has to fly. But the captain, co-pilot, and crew member says, "You can't fly unless you leave your wheelchair behind. It's too heavy. If you take your wheelchair on board, then 17% of the students can't take their luggage." And apparently, in Seminole County public schools, That's not reasonable.
Kelly Shilson, Belinda Ewan, Bruce Washington, and Kenneth Times.
Hello, school board members. Superintendent Beeman. My name is Kelly Shilson of Longwood. Couple of side notes since I've been kind of writing what I'm going to say. I wholly agree with the updating of the Lake Mary School softball field for girls. Having 2 girls in sports, I completely agree. Everything should be fair. I certainly didn't think I was going to say anything about bus drivers today because I wasn't expecting that, but my mother was a bus driver, so I can actually say firsthand the bond that they make with the students and watch them grow. I just feel like they do play an important part of our education system. I cannot say that I'm well educated on the pay and benefits of Seminole County employees. However, I'm sure inflation and Florida minimum wage has caused this to all increase. So hopefully they can get the pay that they deserve to match now where we are. If parents can opt their children out, this is really what I was coming here for, why would competent adults not be able to make that same decision for themselves? I'm again asking you if you can just allow the employees to make those healthcare choices for themselves. If they can teach our children, and we trust them to teach our children, I'm sure that they can make their own healthcare choices. I'm really asking that you sunset the rule for the opt-out on the 9th, as there are only 90 active cases out of 77,000 people, and it just doesn't make any sense. Also, the dashboard, I think that probably can go away because there's only, it shows 344 quarantined, again, out of 77,000 people. Since parents now have the option to not quarantine their healthy children, I think that could probably go away. And then the I wear my mask for you signs, those need to come down. That shows just a very divisive, if somebody is sitting in school without a mask, that shows that they're being selfish. And that's not how we want to raise our children. So I'm just asking if those can be removed as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Belinda Ewan, Oviedo. Thank you for introducing a test today on civics. Ironically, on the same day, the board has made a recommendation to limit participation by parents and citizens. I learned in school that government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. We are here exercising our rights, inalienable rights given by God and guaranteed under the protection of the Constitution. We don't want to be here at an 8-hour-plus meeting either, but we do it because this is our local school board. We are answering the call. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. That starts here in our county at these school board meetings. Thank you. And to the school bus drivers, I want to say that it didn't really come to my attention tonight. My son is only just now riding the bus. But it's probably a thankless job that parents are just so busy and don't think about. But we thank you for doing your job, for coming out on the toughest days. I mean, it's hard to drive 1 kid, 2 kids to school, never mind a bus full of them. So thank you, and if you can find it in your budget to help these people out, please do it.
Board members, superintendent, employee of Seminole County Public Schools for 35 years. Not saying coming here for a job, but I've made a career. When the pandemic first started, we had a couple of employees, they had to leave because of sickness or whatever. And so that made our department had to work hard. They get the equipment out there to sanitize the schools. I came a year ago about the same thing, the morale, money issues. Stop being political. Stop trying to be politically correct and do the right things for the employees. I drive every day, 5 days a week to these schools, to deliver supplies to the schools, sanitized. So this building can be sanitized. All the buildings in the county, our drivers go out every day. We bust our tails to get the equipment, supplies there. And just want the raises to be up to where it's supposed to be, just like me. I've been in the system for 35 years, just at $44,000. I love my job, what I do. I'm here for the recognition. I don't care about kudos. I'm here first thing in the morning, and most of the time I leave when my boss leaves because I'm dedicated. I want to make sure my truck is ready to go and go out there and deliver the supplies at the schools. I really want you to consider to give us the steps back and the raises. And one thing I hear out there all the time from the employees is, I know we're trying to get the minimum wage up, but what about the ones that are already here? What about the ones that are already here? If someone come in my position and they take the minimum wage, about 2 or 3 years, they're going to catch up with me. That's not fair. That's what I hear out there. They're tired. You wonder why the morale is down. You don't value us. And you know what another thing that they say? If you're not in a glass house, you don't get a promotion. If you're not in a glass house, it don't matter. They think that you don't care. If you're not in a glass house, I mean this building here, that's what they feel out there. Not just ESPs. I talk to administrators. I talk to everybody that I go to. I came here today. I was busy doing something else, but I wanted to make sure that you hear what they're saying. Not just me, but your employees that make you look good. They're number one.
Order.
Number one county here in Central Florida. We enjoy our job. We make you look good. You're on top. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kenneth Times and Lynn Moira Dichter and Belinda Anderson and Tina McClory.
Hello, everyone. When I first came in here, I looked in everyone's eyes. I seen curiosity. Now I see love in your eyes. I see compassion. You know how much they poured on the floor. You know how much. And I'm going to tell you every parent's greatest wish, that when they send their kid to school and they send them off and you go to work, that their kid come in contact with somebody who cares for them. We care for them. Day in and day out. These people got 5 or 6 different jobs. They can be a police at a time, a lawyer, a negotiator. They can be a parsh mama, a daddy at times, an auntie. We could be so many different titles. But here's the remarkable thing. We love them with so much compassion until you know if you have to lay your head on your pillow at night and go to sleep, you have gone to sleep with a sound heart. You have laid your head on your pillow and went to sleep with the best in your heart. So I'm not here to beg for the money. I'm here to explain what they are doing. And it'll come if you see all the love that's been poured on this floor, that's filtering out of this building and filtering out of your heart.
Good evening. My name is Lynn Moira Dichter. Thank you, Superintendent and school board members. I was very impressed with all the red shirts and these stories that we heard about the bus drivers and the transportation folks, but I would like to talk about decorum, the appropriate social behavior within set situations, specifically the decorum at these Seminole County School Board meetings. I've been attending these emergency meetings, regularly scheduled meetings, and have watched the YouTube presentations for months on end. The unruly and rude behavior exhibited by dozens of attendees was indeed a shock to me earlier this summer. The calling out of order, order does very little to settle the muttering and mob mentality. In each of the past few meetings, 3, 4, sometimes 5 people had to be forcibly removed by the Seminole County deputies. And then it hit me. This behavior would never happen in a public school classroom. Why is it permitted here at the public school board meetings? Yelling out and threatening speakers like me. And I know some of you have been threatened as well. One crackpot actually told me on social media that I should watch myself because he knew where I lived. Now, the jeering, the interrupting, the standing ovations, even the rallying by one of the mob when y'all took a break after an especially hate-filled outburst was frightening and beyond the pale. Now, I know you read the rules before the public comments at every meeting, warning us against being disruptive, saying if you have these outbursts, you will be removed, you're out. You also use, and I wrote down those words, civility, respect, and restraint. But while the deputies and I sometimes make eye contact and we often roll our eyes, nothing changes. Now, if a teacher had a disruptive student, that student would be in detention or sent to the assistant principal. If a kid was disruptive on the school bus, they would be removed. So I would urge you to, one, continue public comments, again, from Seminole County residents, parents, taxpayers, and students. Seminole County, not some of these interlopers from other places. And make your recitation of the rules the first and only warning, and then show these badly behaved folks the door. This will do several things. It will encourage other less brave and brazen residents to come and speak up, but it will also set an example of decorum and proper civil behavior for our children, our parents, and our staff. Thank you for getting this back under control and not buckling to the raucous mob. Thank you.
Thank you. Belinda Anderson. And then Tina McClory, you'll be the final speaker.
My name is Belinda Anderson, and I've been driving buses for 17 years, plus altogether 18 years because I started out as a monitor. So now we're going to talk about the foundation. You have beautiful homes, right? I know you all do. I know y'all walk in y'all beautiful homes and everything. But if you didn't have the foundation of that home, it wouldn't be beautiful. If anything go to crack it in there, you're gonna find the best person to come in there and pay that person that fits that house to keep that beautiful home. We are the foundation of Seminole County Public School. If it weren't for us, they'll shut the whole school down. Why? Because we bus drivers getting the kids to school. You got custodians keeping the school clean. You got cafeteria providing food to the kids for their nursery. But if we all walk out here today, if all the custodians walk out today, where would y'all be? Where would y'all be? Out of no job. You know why? Because we hold y'all up. We might be little people, but we the little people that keep the foundation, keep the school going. But when they started this, when you start something, you start from foundation, you start from ground up. But you got to pay, you got to keep on paying and putting into it to keep striving for it. So you're not doing it by yourself. Y'all just sitting up there. We're doing the work. Y'all sitting up there making the money. But tell me that we got to come in here and fight for a raise? That don't sound good. I love my job. I can be a security, I'm a certified security officer. I can quit this job right now and go get me a job in security. But you know why I'm here? Because I love what I'm doing. I like to get on that bus and drive. But you know what? When I get up in the morning, the first thing I say, I guess I get up and go make this penny. It's straight up. So if you got a foundation, a good foundation, y'all can strive even more. But the foundation here is cracking, it's diminishing. It's diminishing because you are not taking care of us. I understand the teacher has knowledge. They're the foundation of the kids, teaching them. I understand that. But who they gonna teach if your bus driver don't get them to school? What they gonna teach, the walls? Tell me what they gonna teach. Is they gonna teach the walls? Because first of all, we got to get them there. If the custodians wasn't there to clean those buildings and those toilets every day and putting their hands in the toilet, are y'all gonna go there to clean them?
It's your time.
The first thing they gonna do is gonna shut the school down.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tina McClory, and I'm an ESP at an elementary school. Superintendent Beeman and board members, ESPs are told we are the heart of our schools, and we are the glue that holds our schools together. But our hearts are hurting, and the glue is running thin. As a para at a school, my love for my students is what keeps me coming back every day. Many days you may get the message to drop everything. You have to cover a classroom, or the teacher has to go home because of an emergency, or the sub did not show again. School educational support staff members are being stretched thin, and we are not and have not been rewarded with any COVID funding or increases. Like many ESPs, I work 2 jobs to help ends meet after being employed for 23 years by the school system. Please show all ESPs you really feel we are important enough to our schools, that we matter. ESP's work is a work of the heart, but our hearts are aching.
Thank you. That concludes public input. Ms. Sanchez, we're going to take a break, and I know you might take a few minutes longer. How much time do you think you need for a break? Okay, so we're going to take we'll come back at 20 till. Close to that, please.
The meeting is starting. Please quiet down.
Mr. Rusty, are you in the room? Thank you. If you can come to the podium, please. Ms. Kraus, you have a clarifying question on 6D like David, personnel recs?
Yes, I just thought it would be helpful to clarify the statute and how this item Z came to be, so that in transparency, if you wouldn't mind explaining that, Mr. Rusty?
Sure. For everybody who doesn't know, the TSAI allocation is what we're talking about, and that's the teacher salary increase allocation that was provided by the Florida Legislature and Department of Education, started last year. If you remember last year, the governor put in place that he wanted to increase the beginning teacher salary as close to $47,500 as districts could get to. Last year, the allocation for Seminole County was a little over $11 million. That was used to increase the beginning teacher salary from about $40,000 to $46,310. This year, and just to clarify about that, so everyone understands, when we got that allocation, it's in a silo. It can only be spent a certain way and only for certain groups. So 80% of that allocation had to be spent for classroom teachers as defined by statute 1012-01(2)(a). Those are classroom teachers. Everybody in category B, C, and D did not get to participate in that allocation. But the board used other funds to increase that. But so everyone understands, that silo of money is separate from what we normally get from the state to help with salaries for all of our employees. Most of the money that the district has flexibility on to provide salary increases for employees comes out of the BSA, as all of you I know are well aware. For the last few years, it's been very small. This year, it's been very small again. This year, the TSA allocation was about $1 million over what the previous year was provided. So we have another about $1 million to increase our beginning teacher salary, again, in the same manner, to get closer to $47,500. So out of that $1 million, 80% has to go in this one bucket. The other 20% goes in the other bucket for everyone else. And that 20% that falls in that other bucket is collectively bargained with the association about how that's going to get divvied up with those teachers. But that's where that money is, and so it's clear. The allocation that came from the state for the BSA that was very small, and I know Mr. Cease could probably speak better to it, was smaller than the amount of money that was our increases in our retirement and other things really ate up that little bit of money that we were given in that area for salaries.
Thank you for your clarification. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Board members, there are 2 committees looking for representation if you have an interest. The first one is an RFQ. They're soliciting proposals for continuing contract for roofing consultant services. Is there anyone interested?
I'd be more than happy to represent the board. I don't think I've had a turn lately on a committee.
Thank you. And the second one is RFQ, continuing contract mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineering professional services.
I wouldn't mind doing that one.
Thank you. Superintendent, do you have a recommendation on the consent agenda?
That the consent agenda be approved.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Superintendent, do you have a recommendation under new business?
Yes, the recommendation is that the School Board of Seminole County approve the membership of the Equity Advisory Committee for 2021-2022.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay. Any discussion? Did you hear both motion and second? Christine, do you second?
I thought I motioned, but either way.
Okay.
Yes.
Discussion. All in favor?
I do have clarifying questions on it.
Please. Okay. I'm sorry.
Was there a motion and a second?
Yes.
Okay. I don't feel comfortable in approving this in that I don't know who these people are, because when we set this committee up as a board-sanctioned committee, we said we needed to have representation from different groups, and they all needed to live in Seminole County. So with just names, I obviously know who I appointed, and I know, Member Pennick, I think you said you lost some of your members from last year as well. And so did all board members put their three names forward? Because I don't know, and I don't know who is verified if indeed these people all live in Seminole County or are a teacher.
Thank you. Dr. Calderon, the 25 names that are on the committee member list are equally balanced among the 5 stakeholder groups that the board created in the original action item. So there are 5 teachers, 5 students, 5 administrators, 5 parents, and 5 community members. It's exactly even. Each board member provided 3 names, and then the superintendent added an additional 10 to get to the 25. In terms of the residency question, in the initial board item that was created, again, this goes back to 2020, in each category there was a requirement. So for example, students have to be current students, employees have to be currently employed, and then under community membership, the item said that that community was left to the discretion of the board members and the superintendent. So those community members, I wouldn't have any way of verifying. In some cases, I know how they're affiliated to the board, but there's nothing in that action item that said they had to be Seminole County residents.
I thought we had lengthy discussion on it when we were talking about looking at the membership this year of this committee, that they all needed to be Seminole County residents when you said there needed to be clarification from the board direction. I don't know if I'm the only one that heard that, but.
I thought I recalled that same conversation.
Like in a school board meeting, we discussed it.
Well, board members, I did not hear that direction, that community members had to be Seminole County residents. And so the individuals that are on there are the community members that were either appointed by you or part of the committee that I put on there to round out, to make it balanced. As far as that would have to be something that you all would change, because it wasn't a requirement for the committee last year. And so we're traveling off of the action item as of last year in regards to the requirements for the different stakeholders: current student, current employee, community member at the discretion of the school board and superintendent.
So I guess I'm not following, because this is a school board appointed committee, and I thought we talked about it, was it a work session? When we were even suggesting to Dr. Wysong that they narrow the scope this year as far as topics, because we knew we'd have so many new members on this committee that there would have to be retraining of sunshine law and all that kind of thing, that we were going to zero focus into our priorities. And I remember stating, just for my committee members, because I lost 2 committee members because I felt that they were no longer under the definition of current residents and or current teachers. So how would we remedy that if that's the will of the board, if that's what we thought we were enacting?
I can tell you what my 3 are: a current parent, a current teacher, and a current student.
Hunter as well.
I have a current.
I'm with Dr. Calderon. I don't know how we would have one section of this committee be outside of the community if the rest of the sections were defined to be community.
To be clear, the community member section is exactly the same as it was last year.
And then if I can add, it is also possible that you could have a student on the committee who is not a resident of Seminole County because of controlled open enrollment. You may have teachers who don't live in Seminole County. You may have community members affiliated with institutions that are historically partnered with the board, but the person serving in that role may or may not live in Seminole County. So it is complex.
So to move this forward in a timely manner, and since the community members were on there last year, perhaps you would consider approving this for this year, and then when next year happens, if we want to make a change for the following year, and make it a Seminole County community member.
I thought we discussed that at the work session, and it was clear, so I guess I didn't articulate it enough. I just really feel that we need to hear from our local community. And I understand, we even heard from employees tonight that they might not live in this county, but they are part of Seminole County Public Schools, and I think that's very important to hear the voices of those that are directly tied to Seminole County Public Schools and or live in Seminole County. So if we're going to bring this forward tonight, that's fine, but I'd like us as an action item to see how to remedy this in the future.
Please. Repeat it.
Well, I would like us as a board to discuss this, of how to remedy it to ensure that we get Seminole County input, because I think that's what this board is supposed to be representing.
Can you bring this back at the next meeting?
Certainly, I could. Two things.
Okay.
There's a pending motion that you all should vote on, and then I would imagine that you would then need to vote to amend the action item regarding the membership and the makeup of the equity committee. Because the equity committee, as from your past action item, does not include the requirements that you're now saying.
Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did everyone vote?
I, in the beginning, was not even paying attention, sorry. I'm like totally out of it right now.
Abby, what was
I
your
was
vote?
with Christine.
Okay. So
I guess I have a question, if I can open up discussion. Did we not all pick 3 people and check with those that were on our list last year? Did you pick 3? And you picked 3 and verified? And so did I, and so did you. So I'm sorry, I don't understand. I guess I need
Well,
some
if they
guidance.
all live in Seminole County, then I guess we wouldn't have a problem. But I guess my question that I asked earlier is that I couldn't vote because all we had were names. I know some of the people because they're employees, and I know some of the people because they're my 3 appointees. And I felt I was living by our board recommendation of who the committee makeup should be reflective of the community and live in the community. So I just had no way of verifying if indeed these people lived in the community. So I just asked if staff had pre-checked it before I make a vote.
Does it not concern you that we could have a teacher that may not live in Seminole but wants to serve?
And I understand, and I even clarified that to say, I know for a fact we have teachers that don't live in Seminole, but I felt that there's a direct linkage to our mission and vision because they are employed by this school district, whereas I don't know if there's a direct linkage to Seminole County or this school district if they're not either a resident in Seminole County or employed by the school district or a student in the school district. It would be no different in my mind if I wouldn't want a student from Miami-Dade to be on this committee because perhaps some of their issues as a student in Miami-Dade wouldn't be reflective of what we do in Seminole County. So that's the point of clarification that I was trying to make. I think if somebody is on payroll as a teacher in Seminole County and might live in Volusia County or Orange County, I think they still do understand the mission and vision of Seminole County Public Schools and can represent that just as a student in Seminole County and a community member, parent in Seminole County.
And I was just confirming that from the staff perspective, we did not go into to verify the residence of community members. And so to that end, I don't know where any of the community members reside.
Do you want to make an amendment to the motion? Appropriate?
Excuse me? Well, you all have already voted on the item that is pending in the board, and if you would like to amend the membership requirements for the action item that created the Equity Advisory Committee, then now would be the appropriate time to do that.
So we need to make a motion to amend the requirements that anyone serving on the Equity Committee should reside in Seminole County, be employed by SCPS, a student of SCPS, or a parent of an SCPS student.
Correct.
Then I make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
I would like to speak to this because I'm pretty certain that my candidate is the one being singled out as a community member. And again, here we are with changing the rules midway. My community member works for Safe Schools in both Seminole and Orange County. I don't know if he lives in Seminole County. He's not on the payroll on Seminole County, but that is his job, and has worked closely with some of our staff members in training and developing policies and procedures that are inclusive. And I feel that he served last year. He was one of the best attendees of this committee, offered input that we may not hear from others. And I don't support that. They have to live in Seminole County if they're a community member. We're missing out on some of the broader picture.
So perhaps if the person does not reside in the county, perhaps there's someone else within their organization that does.
It's unfortunate after the fact, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think we are changing, because that was my understanding in our last work session, that we said that since there were so many new people that were going to have to be coming on, we needed to verify that everyone was either a Seminole County resident, a Seminole County teacher, a Seminole County student.
And
I misunderstood it then.
My 3 names were new. I don't recognize half of the names on the list, so I don't know. I'm not singling out one person. I have the same concern. I thought we talked about it in the work session. I don't know who is a parent, who's a student, who is a community member, who's a teacher, other than the few that I recognize or the 3 that I recommended. So I'm not singling out one individual, but looking out for what is best for SCPS.
Well, and I guess my initial question was, if I recall, a whole year ago when we got this list of names, I thought we did list if they were a faculty member, a student, or a community member, and then the board member who recommended the person or the superintendent who recommended the person. Because I do remember when we set this policy that we as board members gave 3 names for consideration, and then the then superintendent would equal out the committee to ensure that we had voice from all.
And that is exactly what happened this time.
Could I
There are
re-ask
3
Dr.
for
Wysong
each
about-
of the board members, and then I rounded out the remaining so that we would have representation in each of the stakeholder groups.
Because I don't know which one is a student, I don't know which one is a parent, and I don't know which one is a community member.
Madam Chair, could I re-ask Dr. Wysong to state the community members' what the requirements were? Thank you, Dr. Wysong.
So going back to the July 28th, 2020 item that created the committee, community membership is left to the discretion of the board members and superintendent. So in terms of my work as the facilitator of the committee, that's the procedure that I followed. So I can certainly provide the board with, for each of those names, who the nominator was and the role that that person is identified as. And again, it is balanced 5 committee members per group, as the original action item contemplated. And again, we did the same process. In fact, even finalizing some of the superintendent names after we had the last board member set of names confirmed. So we followed the process as laid out in the action item. Certainly with additional direction, I can go and keep working on that list, but I do want to be clear about the direction that you have. Because again, that residency requirement may create some additional complexity. And I guess what I would need to know is, are you applying that only to the community member section, or does that apply to other groups? In which case I would have to go to each of those people and get a verification of that, because as community members, they're not in a staff database or a student database.
But the student already implicitly it describes this, the student has to be enrolled in SCPS, so that encompasses Seminole County SCPS. You have to be a parent of a student in SCPS. That's a direct tie to SCPS. You have to be a staff member of SCPS. So why would this separate category be any different than the other 4 categories, the other 3 categories that we've set up? And I guess that's where my concern would be, is why would we treat that category differently than the other categories? And I thought we discussed it, like you said, at the work session or the board meeting, that we wanted them to be within our districts. And reaching back even to when we initially started the conversation of having this, was that we would reach out to people within our districts to make sure we had representation from each of the districts, and it wasn't all one-sided on East Seminole County, North Seminole County, South, however.
And again, I think with the original action item did leave it to the discretion of each board member and superintendent to define what community member means. And again, you could have an organization functioning in the county that a person is tied to that makes them part of the conversation in Seminole, whether they live here or not. But if the board is going to give direction that you want to address verification for each of the community members, then certainly we can do that and come back. And if there's somebody who isn't, then I can go back to that board member and address bring a different name, if that's what if that's the direction of the board.
Madam Chair, I respectfully ask that we don't change the rules after the names, the people have been contacted, the names have been submitted, they accepted, and that if we want to change it for next year, that we do so. I don't think this shines very well on us.
Have they all been notified and accepted?
Yes. I can, if you.
I asked if they had all been notified and if they had all accepted, and the answer was yes. So let me ask, or just throw something out there. I have served on Seminole Children's Cabinet before, for quite a few years, actually. I know that Ms. Krause serves on there now, and I know that it's Seminole County nonprofits, and some may be in Orange County that are part of ours as well, but they support and serve our students as well. Would that not be considered, if they were brought forward as a community member, would that be okay? Because they're directly impacting our students. And I don't know if they would be a representative from the Children's Cabinet or if they would represent their particular entity that is a part of it, but there are great resources there.
I guess I understand what Mrs. Krause is saying and concur with you that if we've spoken to these people, but maybe I just misinterpreted this policy. I was very strict to the letter of the law that I picked a teacher from my district, a parent from my district, and a community member from my district, because those are the conversations I remember the five of us having, whether it be when the policy was first derived or at work sessions. But I didn't think we'd be stumbling over what a definition of a specific word would mean, but that's as I interpreted it. If we need to rewrite it for the future, I'm okay with that, or we absolutely understand what the five of us mean for direction to the superintendent. I think we have to be crystal clear.
If we've made a commitment, I think we should stand by it for the year and then look at changing it for next year. Any further discussion?
So do we have to remove amendment to the
Can you hear me?
motion?
There is a standing motion in a second right now to change the language of the direction in terms of, and require residency for the community member. You'd have to vote on that particular matter. And if you're looking to readdress the initial motion, the prior motion, you'd have to do a motion to rescind the vote and then take it as a new motion to accept the list. Does that make sense? We're looking at 3 different actions right now.
I don't know who made the motion to accept.
We have to vote on the existing motion that is currently on the table, which is to modify the residency requirement in your action item. You still have to call that vote.
Already done that. You need to call for a vote.
Call the vote. Let's
call the vote.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, that motion fails.
That passed. Next.
At this point, if you are looking to address the other item that was already voted on that had previously failed, you would need to do a motion to rescind that vote. And after addressing that, then there could be another motion to actually accept the list.
Thank you. Is there a motion to rescind that vote?
Does it need to be the person that made the motion? I think it does.
I'm sorry, say again.
Does it need to be the person that made the motion? I believe it does.
Yes,
to
the
rescind it,
person
and
that
I
made
don't know who
the-
voted. Jill, do you have that? The original motion?
on the original action, based on the recommendation, on the original action, based on the superintendent's.
Who made the motion? Right. Right, so I rescind that vote, that motion.
Right? I'm sorry, Member Sanchez, you're saying you're making a motion to rescind?
Yes.
Member Krause?
And there needs to be a second?
So we can't vote on this list tonight. Is that what you're saying?
No, we're rescinding the original vote.
Okay, I'll second it.
Discussion. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
The third item now, the third action would be to do a new motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent with a second and a vote.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
That again, because I couldn't hear.
Accept her recommendation. I made a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Yes, please.
Can we put this on an agenda item in the near future to discuss next year's establishment? And I would additionally like to add that we add some type of, I don't know the right way to say this, a vetting process to make sure that the people who are going to represent us on this committee are going to do so in good faith for this committee. I have some concerns of some people vocal against this board and for this board that are being appointed on the committee, and I have to assume that they are going to come in with fresh eyes and give us some great recommendations and support us and understand the restrictions that we have, but want to make sure that we have the best of intentions people on the board, on our board committees as we go forward. So if we could get something, if we could not let this sit until we have to revisit this in a year while it's fresh in our minds.
Yes, absolutely.
We can move on from this.
Well, and I guess for further clarification too, if these people should represent each of the districts, you know, because I guess I interpreted the policy differently, that I was to only appoint people from my district. You know, obviously they'd have to physically be in Seminole County. So I just want to be really transparent and have all of us understand that so we don't have everybody living in one city.
And sometimes they may go to your school in your district, but they may live on my side of town, so, or vice
But
versa.
if it
So
was
that
a teacher
happens.
representative, I used a teacher in my district. If it was a community member, I used a community member in a district, and a student in my district. So I just don't know how others did it, so.
Can I ask one question for clarification? Dr. Weissong, when you're doing the sunshine training, are you also reviewing maybe the social media policy with them, since they will be representing us as committee members? We do have a social media policy, and I just want to make sure that that's also addressed.
So with last year's committee, there was a review of the sunshine policy and a question and answer session. We can certainly add social media to that presentation.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Is that a 4-1? Thank you.
Okay. Next up is superintendent's report, and I am going to take A, superintendent annual evaluation. Summary of the superintendent's 2021 evaluation. In accordance with the terms of Ms. Beeman's contract as superintendent with the School Board of Seminole County, Florida, she is to be evaluated by each school board member annually to be completed no later than October 1 of the current school year. The superintendent is evaluated on 5 standards. Each standard includes 5 to 7 professional practices, which are rated on a scale of unsatisfactory, needs improvement, effective, highly effective. Additionally, each board member has the opportunity to provide written comments relative to each rated standards. The standards are 1, vision and culture. Ms. Beeman received a 3.26. Standard 2, business operations. Ms. Beeman received a rating of 3.3. Standard 3, board governance and policy. Ms. Beeman received a rating of 3. The 4th standard is communication and community relations. Ms. Beeman received a rating of 2.97. And standard 5 is ethical leadership. Ms. Beeman's rating was 3.48. Her overall performance was a 3.25, all of us combined and our comments combined, which is effective. Per her contract, her employment is extended through June 30th, 2025. A copy of the entire evaluation is available if you'd like by contacting the city clerk. Superintendent, you have additional items?
I do, Madam Chair, but they are read-only items that are included in your book.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any committee updates? Vice Chair Pennock?
Just quickly, we have 2, regarding the ILA, we have 2 cities that still are outstanding on their vote. Winter Springs is due to take theirs to their late October meeting, and Altamont will follow in November. And I have no other community updates.
Member Calderon.
I attended the SHAC meeting and forwarded you the email of all the handouts. Had great presentation from both GROW and Lotus Behavioral Health Care, which will be a great asset to our community. They're located in Winter Springs, and all the details were in that email. Also attended the Central Florida School Board Coalition meeting that was hosted from Orange County as the temporary chair. They had local representatives from Central Florida speak about what their legislative issues would be this year in Tallahassee. Their school board attorney gave an update on the lawsuit that some districts have with the state of Florida. We are not party of that. And the FSBA meeting in November will actually be the Central Florida School Board's coalition meeting at that time. There will not be an additional meeting. And the Seminole Chamber received a state award for the Public Relations Award of the Year from the state of Florida for their Chamber Crush initiative, which was trying to support all of our local restaurants and keeping them open during the pandemic. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Member Sanchez?
First, thank you, Dr. Calderon, for going to the Central Florida Coalition meeting for me. I appreciate that. And thank you all for all the well wishes during my past month and a half or whenever, my surgeries and stuff. Also, I have no other committee reports, just except for Arts Alive. Auditions are almost wrapping up, and, we want as many people to audition as possible and turn in their tapes. I do have a comment about the softball field. And I was looking at the back of our book and noticing on page 137 that we had given Lake Mary High School for their baseball field $230,000 for their bleachers. But listening to the comments coming from the softball family and coaches, it's peril that we need to do something. I don't know what money could be allocated towards this, but I'm thinking, even hearing from Brantley parents on situations going on over there, it seems like the boys' programs are taken care of better than the female programs, and I don't want to see this happening. Everybody needs to be equal, and we need to make sure that we are taking care of everything. There shouldn't be any holes or ditches or dugouts that are getting drenched. Hey, accidents happen. Believe me, this is what happened to me. So, you know what? we need to do something and figure out where we can get funds for this and get it done. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Kraus?
It's been a quiet couple of weeks since our last board meeting. I haven't had any community meetings. The Winter Springs Oviedo Chamber held their Ovations Awards and dinner, and we're just all getting ready with the pumpkin spice everything. Tina loves her pumpkin spice. So I'll have reports at our next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I attended the Foundation for Seminole County Public Schools meeting, and they had a perfect audit, no findings, and they netted $1 million plus for the year compared to the year before, so that was really, really good. And they were really complimented for all the work they did. Mayors and managers, they discussed topics of value that all the municipalities and the school board might find an interest together. They were struggling a little bit to find commonalities, but we gave them plenty of ideas, and I'll be bringing that back. There'll be one more meeting, then there's a 2-month break, I guess, with the holidays, and then we'll see who serves. So, Casbury Chamber has a business expo on Wednesday, the 6th of October, 11:30 to 1, Metro Life Church. And since I go to that chamber, I'm going to do a table with things, representing the county to hand out. And that's my report. Anything else, board members? Okay, no further business. The meeting is adjourned. Thanks to everybody who stayed.